One of the biggest changes I made to the draft-only franchise formula for this brand new MLB The Show 24 game was that I added the ability for us to trade for 3 different prospects at any point in the series, just to add a little bit of fun. And today we make the first of those 3 trades. All these guys you're seeing at the MLB, they're all going to be gone after this year. And if we don't make any moves, we're going to lose them for nothing. And there is one guy that is just too good to lose for nothing, and that is Nolan Jones. Now, I put out a poll in the comment section of the last episode asking you to vote between 2 players for us to trade Nolan Jones for, and the results are in, and you guys have decided that we should trade for the Padres catcher Ethan Salas here. And I think this is a trade that is going to help out this franchise a lot. Salas here is only 18 years old. He has a high A potential, already 71 overall. Already a solid defensive catcher as well. He projects to be really good by the time he's made it all the way up to the bigs. Offensively, needs some work, but I think you like the starting point for an 18-year-old player for sure. This is going to be an awesome player for us to add. Nolan Jones, we're trading a very good young player to a division rival, which I think adds a little bit of fun to this trade. Yes, we're taking away their best prospect in the organization. We're giving them a guy who's 90 overall, who's 25 years old, who's got 4 years of team control. After this, he does play the same position as Fernando Tatis, but both he and Tatis have a lot of position flexibility, so I think it won't be a problem at all for San Diego to find a spot for Nolan Jones in their everyday lineup. An arm this good, you pair this arm with Tatis' arm in the outfield, and you're going to have one of the best outfields out there, at least in terms of arm strength and accuracy for sure. Just to spice things up, because we're going to lose him as well anyway, why don't we give him another one of our best young players, Ezequiel Tovar. They don't really need him as much, but, just make the deal look even better for the Padres. I like the extra challenge that we're giving ourselves in the division here, and this is what we're gonna do. Also makes us a little bit worse for this year, which is a benefit for us as it stands here. We are 41 and 66. There's one team worse than us in the National League, and there are 2 teams worse than us in the American League, with one team tied, or wins at least. So right now we're in that 4th spot for lottery odds, and in the Rule 5 draft order, I'd love to increase those odds if we can in the last couple months of the season. But we have executed an absolutely massive deal. Somebody who's going to come in and just instantly make our organization's farm system look a whole lot better. The only guy ahead of him on the prospect list is Jackson Holliday, who has already been added to the MLB roster. He's not going to last on the prospect list much longer, so we're going to have the number 1 prospect in baseball, a very talented player, but I think the caliber of guy that we're giving up in Nolan Jones is worthy of a top of the line prospect, and can't wait to see him play for the first time. And he gets added to what was last episode, just an absolute monster class that we were able to select in the amateur draft. So if you just take a look at what the top prospect list is, if you take Salas out of the equation, at the start of this episode, we were talking about Benny Montgomery, a C potential prospect, being the third best prospect in the organization prior to this Salas trade. And now you add Salas. Next season, you add this draft class, and Benny Montgomery's not even going to be sniffing top 3. We've already done a ton to add to the future of this organization. That being said, there's still a ton more to do, but I think we are off on the right foot in this rebuild. Let's take a look at Ethan Salas and see some at-bats with the guy, shall we? So let's get some Ethan Salas gameplay now, and I think as we watch some at-bats with him, it's a good time to address the fact that I know that the trade for him wasn't something that everybody loved the idea of. You know, it was brought up in the comments section of the last video that it's not super realistic that the Padres would give away a player of Salas's caliber, and I agree with that. I mean, I did wait until the very end as I was waffling with the idea of how good of a prospect I should get in return for Nolan Jones. But ultimately, the reason I made the decision that I did is I was thinking back on last year's draft only challenge on MLB The Show, and we went 8 years into that franchise before we went to a long-term sim, and we never won the championship. This is a very, very difficult rebuild, and so if we could get one player that might be unrealistic to help us get over the edge, I think we can do it. And now I feel like our farm system is at the point where, you know, we have 2 A's, 2 high B's, a low B, and a C. That's kind of, you know, a good draft class. You know, a couple of A's, a couple high B's. So it feels like this Salas trade puts us in a point where it feels like we're just one draft class ahead, which I think is going to help us in our pursuit of a championship here in a rebuild that ultimately has been difficult. I did it twice in MLB The Show 23, one in a, you know, one-off rebuild video, and then one in our long-term franchise series, and it took us 8 years or longer both times. And so I know it's not the most realistic, but that was kind of my thought process behind why I thought it was still a good idea for us. And to be honest, I'm not saying this is a reason to trade him, but if you're feeling bad that we took the best prospect away from a division rival, as Salas does not have a good game here today, going 0-for. So we'll see if he can get a hit in the next game, but like, he was probably going to get traded anyway, which, again, not a reason for him to be traded to us. Just, man, I wish MLB The Show just in general valued their prospects more heavily. Would end up only doing 2 games with Salas because I felt like I was a bad luck charm for him. He was 5 of 17 in the first couple games with the team, and then I watched him for a couple games. He didn't get a hit in 2 games, so I decided to stop player locking Salas, and we'll transition to some Chase Olander player lock for this one. Good to see Salas behind the mound, but I know it's hard to find a move that will be universally liked in any franchise series. Sounds like most people were in favor of adding Salas, and I think he's going to be a fun addition to the squad. And honestly, I also wouldn't have done it for a player that wasn't as good as Nolan Jones. I mean, how many years into the franchise will it take for Ethan Salas to get better than Nolan Jones? Probably 5 years. I mean, Salas is really good, but so is Nolan Jones, and Jones is only 25. So the fact that we were giving up what is really a high quality player for Salas that will be with the Padres probably for quite some time is what ultimately made me think it was a good decision. Well, let's get into the actual gameplay here. Some commentary on it. Chase Olander here with his first walk allowed that leadoff double as well. But an out here against Dupaire would be how I would guess that name is pronounced. Would get him out of the inning without allowing any runs, which he does. He got that pitch count up into the mid-20s after the first inning, though, so we'll have to see how that affects how long he can stay in this game as he gets a great strikeout to start the second. First pitch of the at-bat, we're going to get a ground out here to third. That's the kind of efficient outs that we're going to need after a prolonged first inning. Chop to the ground once more, this time to shortstop. Man, am I excited to see Rafael Murillo man the shortstop for us next season. We will be finishing off the season today. So, but I should just let you know that we've gone through the first season pretty quickly here. I said that we would back in episode 1. Won't be going this quickly for the remainder of this series, as Olander finds himself in a bit of a bind here. Bottom of the third. 2 runners on, no outs. Their leadoff man, Carter Howell, with 2 extra base hits in 2 at-bats today. He's given Olander some problems. That one cracked well to right field. Lopez up next. That pitch caught a little bit too much plate, and it's going to be easily taggable out to right field. Bean getting a workout here in this inning. And the first run is aboard for the Flying Squirrels. Excellent team name, by the way. Low in the zone to Ribio. It's going to be out, but that will drive in the second run. So Olander, unfortunately, can't really get out of the bind there. He will end off the inning with a strikeout, though, which is nice. And he gets some run support is the question. It feels like when Olander's not pitching, our offense is better. Just in the games that I've hopped into to look at various player lock situations. Rarely does this man get much in terms of run support. Salas going to show off the arm for the first time here. Accurate throw to first. 3-1 pitch to Auerbach, and that's the second walk. He has walked a couple guys today, but in general, I've been pleased with how Olander has limited his walks in the starts that we've watched, and a nasty slider bottom and outside there will get him the second strikeout of the inning. Davidson swings through that one. Another strikeout racked up here for Olander. Howell 2 for 2 so far, but underneath this pitch. And Beck hauls it in easily. Unfortunate that Beck got his potential nerfed in this season. Still think he could be somebody that could get some at-bats against lefties in this series, and Olander got him swinging on that pitch well outside the zone to end the 5th. Another swing and a miss. Olander striking up the K's today. Popped up to foul territory. Salas finds it without too much trouble. Hartford finally got some runs on the board, so Olander could get out of this game without being credited for a loss as long as he can get this third out. This has got to be his last inning, though. He is up over 100 pitches. Had a couple of innings there where the pitch count just got into the 20s. That ultimately is going to shorten how much you can play. The 6th would be his final inning. Unfortunately, Hartford would fall here to the Flying Squirrels, but Olander would not be credited with the loss. Another pretty solid performance. Not as high end of a performance as the last episode that we tuned in and watched him pitch, but he did have quite a few strikeouts. One more guy I want to look at before we end this season is Sterling Thompson. He's kind of the last guy with, mid to high B potential, solid quality starter potential in the organization that we just haven't quite taken our look at here. He does have negative WAR for the season. He's losing 7 contact versus lefties. Hasn't been a great year for him. Let's see if we can find a couple of good performances here as we hit September here in this franchise. Here he's going to start off this player lock moment with a single. Getting aboard here, bottom of the first. Back up to bat, bottom of the seconds. 2 down, 1 in scoring position, and you got well underneath this pitch. Infield fly. Bottom of the fourth now. We've got Thompson up once more, and that one was just hit softly right at the second baseman. Harder to imagine an easier play for an infielder to make. 1 for 3. Salas trying to steal a bag here, and he's safe. And that's the value that a guy like Ethan Salas adds at catcher. You're not seeing a bunch of catchers out here stealing bags and hitting the leadoff for the team, but that's where we have Salas right now. He's ironically our best contact speed combination we have at AA. It is not common you see catchers hitting leadoff for a team. Thompson, bottom of the 8th, tie game, and he grounds into a double play. It's the worst thing you could do in that situation. Yard goats 10 hits so far, but just 4 runs, not the best day. In terms of bringing our guys across. Bottom 10, we'll get one more chance for Thompson in this game. Got a decent hold of it, but just a little bit too lazy on that hit to center field, so it will be corralled and we'll lose in extras. Here we go, the last game of the season. Thompson, one more player lock. Let's see if he can get a little bit better of a game. He did get the 1 hit last time, but would like to see a little bit more. Top of the 4th, that one's getting through the infield. He gets himself aboard as the Yard Goats trail by 1. Yard Goats would end up having an excellent rally there in the 4th to get them up 5-1. Back up in the 5th inning, Thompson singles for the 3rd time here in these last games that we've witnessed. Hit well to left, but not able to find the gap. So he'll be retired top of the 7th. Maybe his hardest hit ball, though, of these couple games that we've seen. Ground out to first will end the 8th. The Yard Goats will come out victorious in this game, and that will wrap up season 1 here of our Colorado Rockies franchise. We're able to see a lot of solid to even great performances from our prospects. I think I'm very excited to see these guys make the majors in the next couple of years. And that's going to end off our first season here with the Colorado Rockies, really with the Hartford Yard Goats here for season 1. I'm excited for next year. We're going to draft an entire roster in the Rule 5 draft this offseason, so that should be a lot of fun. But before we do that, I want to take a look at just the final stats here for the season. Of course, mainly focusing on the guys that have big league potential. Sterling Thompson, we'll start off with here. Ends off with a 244 average, 663 OPS. Just, you're hoping for a little bit better, slightly below replacement level here this season with a negative 0.1 WAR. Ratings wise, other than contact left, he did go up across the board. We had him training his plate skills, and he gets, +5 discipline and +4 clutch, which I think will help him for next year. Still needs, more help in that area, but he is a little bit better of a defender than he is on offense, and likely to stick in AA just with what he showed this year. To start the next one. Next up, you got Benny Montgomery, who is C potential, but he's very high C. And he went up across the board. Not a great offensive season for him either. He did get positive WAR, likely because he, got some solid speed out there in the outfield and decent fielding ratings as well. But 7 home runs, 7 triples for him, 20 doubles. Solid season. Somebody that I still think could end up being that 4th or 5th outfielder on the big league squad. Now, Zach Veen was awesome. We haven't actually checked in on this guy in quite some time, but he had an awesome season, was an all-star here at the AA level, ended the season with an average above 300, OPS up near 870, 3 wins above replacement for him, 18 homers, 3 triples, 27 doubles, 70 RBIs on 142 hits. Just a great season for him, and he got rewarded with +7 contact versus righties and +5 power. He hit righties extremely well all year long, and he's looking like a guy that could start next season at AAA for sure. Jordan Beck, unfortunately, got his potential nerfed this year. His hitting not really going up that much. In fact, his discipline was going down, despite that being something that we were training for him. It might have been actually power with Jordan Beck that we trained this year, but you know, OPS 765 is not terrible. Hit 14 homers. He certainly has some pop to his game, but you know, that potential nerf really changes his future, I think, in this organization. Drew Romo, he ended up being a DH the last couple of months of the season. Didn't want to ice him out of the lineup entirely, and it's his bat that really needs to develop, so we made him our DH. -2 contact versus lefties is unfortunate. Got some pretty steady increases across the board though, and he's just a guy that's been overtaken by Ethan Salas joining the squad. Speaking of Ethan Salas, he'd get his game back on track a little bit. Still struggled offensively over the course of the season, but only had 125 at-bats with us at the AA level. And ratings-wise, yeah, he went up pretty dang good across the board. +6 contact versus lefties. It's nice. +4 power versus righties. That's what we've been training him on the last couple of months, so nice to see some solid upgrades there. And looks really good defensively already. I think he might start next season at AA, even with being 72 overall. I want to see some more offensive development from this guy. Defensively, he's should be in AAA, if not MLB, but I would like to see the offense grow just a little bit more before we see him upgrade. Now, pitching-wise, there's really only one pitcher that has a lot of upside, and he showed it off in a major way this year. Chase Olander pitched about 18 more innings than anybody else in the organization. Strikeouts at 13 more than anybody else. A 2.36 ERA with a 1.15 whip is awesome. His upgrades are looking really, really nice. +6 home runs per 9, +5 walks per 9, +5 strikeouts per 9. 22 quality starts, 3 complete games, shutouts from him. Just under a 6 WAR. His strikeouts per 9 were just below 9. Had below 3 walks per 9, just a quarter of a home run per 9. FIP, I mean, this has got to be the best one. Eli Lingos at closer actually had a pretty solid year. Looking at this FIP as well. We had other guys that have had solid years. They just don't really have the upside to be great. They might make the roster at some point. It's just that they don't really have the upside to be, you know, a quality starter. But over the next couple of years, when we're filling Rule 5 caliber rosters, yeah, a couple of these guys might make it up. But Chase Olander, he was the #1 prospect in episode 1, and he showed us why this year. He was awesome, and I'm glad we got to see some of his better games throughout this first season. And I'm excited to see what he does next season. I think he's earned the call up to AAA to start next year for sure. Just had his way with AA competition this year. And that's kind of the end of season upgrade for you for this team. Next episode, we will have our very first off season. We'll be releasing the entire 40-man roster. We'll be drafting 26 players in the Rule 5 draft. Maybe we can find a gem of a UDFA or two in there as well. I'm excited to do that off season and then to start next year, kind of paying attention more to the organization as a whole, kind of slowing down the pace as well. We went very quickly through this first season, and I'm looking forward to slowing it down and seeing these seasons go by in a little bit more of a slower manner. But that is all I've got for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Off season coming soon, and I'll see you then.